I stood in the bridal suite of the Grand Aurora Hotel in Miami, watching my reflection in the floor-to-ceiling mirrors. The ivory silk gown I wore cost more than most people earned in 6 months, and I knew it. Every crystal bead had been hand-sewn by artisans in Paris, the train cascading behind me like a waterfall of moonlight. My wedding day. The day I had planned for 18 months. The day that represented everything I had built for myself. But my parents were not here. The suite was filled with people who loved me. My best friend Julia adjusted my veil with tears in her eyes. My future mother-in-law kept squeezing my hand and whispering that everything was perfect. My bridesmaids laughed and took photos, their champagne glasses catching the late afternoon sun streaming through the windows. Yet in all that joy, there was a hollow space where my mother and father should have been standing. They had made their choice 3 months ago, and I had made mine. I was the eldest child of the Harrington family, though you would never know it from the way my parents treated me. My brother Trevor was 2 years younger, and from the moment he was born, he became the sun around which our entire family orbited. I was the responsible one, the one who made sensible choices and never caused trouble. Trevor was the golden boy, the one whose mediocrity was celebrated as brilliance and whose failures were excused as bad luck. I graduated top of my class from business school while working 2 part-time jobs to pay for it. Trevor barely scraped through community college on my parents' dime, then bounced from one failed venture to another while they funded each new disaster. I built a career in pharmaceutical marketing, climbing from junior analyst to senior director in 7 years. Trevor tried his hand at being a personal trainer, then a cryptocurrency consultant, then a life coach. None of it stuck, but my parents praised his entrepreneurial spirit. When I got engaged to Harrison last year, my parents seemed genuinely happy for me. Harrison was everything they should have wanted for their daughter. He was a cardiac surgeon, brilliant and kind, with steady hands that saved lives and gentle eyes that saw straight into my soul. We met at a medical conference where my company was showcasing a new cardiac medication. He asked me to dinner to discuss the drug's clinical applications, and by dessert, we were discussing everything else. Our engagement was a quiet affair, just family and close friends at a nice restaurant. Harrison slipped the ring on my finger, a stunning 2-carat diamond that caught the light like captured starlight, and I said yes before he even finished asking. My parents hugged us both, and my father said he looked forward to walking me down the aisle. Then, Trevor got engaged 3 months later. Her name was Sienna, and she was perfectly nice in that vapid, unremarkable way that suggested she had never had an original thought in her life. She was a dental hygienist who spent most of her free time on social media, documenting every mundane moment of her existence for her 3,000 followers. Trevor proposed to her at a chain restaurant with a ring that looked like it came from a discount jewelry store, and my parents acted like he had just won the Nobel Prize. The problem started when we all sat down to discuss wedding plans together. My mother suggested we coordinate our wedding since Trevor and I were both planning to marry within the same year. I had already booked the Grand Aurora Hotel for October 15th, 6 months away at that point. I had secured the best caterer in Miami, hired a renowned photographer, and ordered invitations that cost $40 each. My guest list was 150 people, carefully curated over months of deliberation. Trevor and Sienna wanted to get married in December, just 2 months after my wedding. They had no venue, no plan, and no budget. My mother looked at me expectantly across the dining room table of my childhood home and said something that made my blood turn cold. "Cassandra, dear, perhaps you could scale back your wedding a bit. Make it more intimate. You do not want to overshadow Trevor's special day." I set down my wine glass very carefully. "Excuse me?" My father cleared his throat. "What your mother means is that 2 elaborate weddings in one family might be excessive. Trevor and Sienna are just starting out, and it would be easier on everyone if your wedding was a bit more modest." "I have been engaged for a year," I said slowly. "I have been planning this wedding for months. Everything is already booked and paid for." "We understand that," my mother said, her smile tight. But surely you can scale back. Maybe a smaller venue, fewer guests. You do not need such extravagance. You are older, more mature. You do not need to make such a spectacle. The words hit me like a slap. I looked at Trevor, waiting for him to speak up, to tell them this was ridiculous. He would not meet my eyes. Sienna played with her phone under the table, completely checked out of the conversation. "I am not changing my wedding," I said. My mother's face hardened. "You are being selfish. This is about family. Trevor's wedding should be the event of the season, not overshadowed by some ostentatious display of wealth. Trevor's wedding is 2 months after mine. How exactly would mine overshadow his?" "People will compare them," my father said bluntly, "and Trevor deserves his moment to shine without being compared to his older sister's extravagant affair." The truth crystallized in that moment, sharp and painful. They did not want me to scale back because of logistics or family harmony. They wanted me diminished because I was succeeding in ways Trevor never had. My accomplishments made his mediocrity more obvious, and they could not stand it. "No," I said simply. "No?" My mother's voice rose. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean I am not changing a single thing about my wedding. I have worked hard for everything I have. I am paying for this wedding myself. Harrison and I are covering every expense. You do not get to demand I make myself smaller so Trevor can feel bigger." The argument that followed was explosive. My mother accused me of being vindictive and jealous of my brother. My father said I was ungrateful for everything they had done for me, conveniently forgetting that I had paid my own way through everything since I was 18. Trevor finally spoke up, saying he did not want there to be conflict, but maybe I could just tone things down a little. Sienna posted a selfie to Instagram mid-argument with the caption, "Family dinner drama LOL." I left that night and did not speak to my parents for a week. They called repeatedly, but every conversation followed the same pattern. They would start by saying they just wanted what was best for everyone, then quickly devolve into demands that I change my plans. I refused every time. 2 months before my wedding, my mother called with an ultimatum. "If you insist on having this lavish spectacle, your father and I will not attend. We cannot in good conscience support such selfishness. You are making a mockery of what marriage should be about." I felt the words land in my chest like stones. "You are choosing not to come to my wedding because I will not make it smaller?" "We are choosing not to enable your ego," my mother said coldly. "Perhaps when you are ready to put family first, we can discuss this again." I hung up on her. Then I sat on my couch and cried for 2 hours straight, while Harrison held me and promised that we would have a beautiful wedding regardless. I called Trevor the next day. He picked up on the 4th ring, sounding distracted. "Trevor, please tell me you did not support this. Please tell me you tried to talk them out of it." There was a long pause. "Cassie, I mean, it is pretty over the top, is it not? You have to admit, it is a lot. And Sienna and I are just trying to have a nice, simple wedding. It puts us in an awkward position." "An awkward position? Trevor, they are refusing to come to my wedding. Do you understand what that means? Maybe if you just compromised a little." I hung up on him too. The next few weeks were surreal. I continued with my wedding planning, numb to the joy that should have accompanied each decision. I chose the menu, finalized the seating chart, confirmed the flower arrangements. Harrison's family stepped up in ways that made me weep with gratitude. His mother took me dress shopping for my reception gown. His father insisted on paying for the bar service. His sister organized my bridal shower and made sure I felt celebrated every step of the way. My parents sent a formal decline to our wedding invitation. They checked the little box that said they would not be attending and left the space for a personal message blank. I kept that card in my desk drawer, a tangible reminder of their choice. Friends and extended family members started calling, confused and concerned. My Aunt Patricia, my mother's sister, called me crying. "Cassandra, what is happening? Your mother said they are not coming to your wedding. She said you uninvited them." "That is a lie," I said flatly. "I invited them. They chose not to come because they think my wedding is too extravagant and will make Trevor feel bad." "That is insane. Trevor is not getting married until December. What does one have to do with the other? You would have to ask them." Aunt Patricia came to my wedding. So did most of my extended family, despite my parents' attempts to poison them against me. Several relatives pulled me aside in the weeks leading up to the wedding to tell me they thought my parents were being ridiculous. My cousin Jerome said he had always known they favored Trevor, but never thought they would take it this far. My Uncle David said he was proud of me for not backing down. The week before the wedding, my mother called one last time. "We want to give you one more chance to do the right thing," she said without preamble. "Scale back the wedding. Make it more appropriate. Then your father and I will attend." My hand tightened on the phone. The wedding is in 5 days. Everything is set. Even if I wanted to change things now, which I do not, it would be impossible. Nothing is impossible if you truly care about your family. "You are right," I said quietly. "Nothing is impossible if you care. That is why I am having the wedding I planned, and that is why you are choosing not to be there. We have both made our priorities clear." "Do not say we did not give you a chance," my mother said, and hung up. I stood in front of my mirror now, 2 hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, and felt the weight of their absence. It hurt. Despite everything, despite their favoritism and their demands and their manipulation, they were still my parents. I had imagined my father walking me down the aisle since I was a little girl. I had pictured my mother crying happy tears as I said my vows. Those images were ghosts now, haunting what should have been pure joy. Julia appeared beside me in the mirror, stunning in her deep burgundy bridesmaid dress. "You look absolutely breathtaking. Harrison is going to lose his mind when he sees you." I managed a smile. "Thank you for being here, for all of this. There is nowhere else I would be. You are my best friend, and this is your day." She squeezed my shoulder. "Their loss, Cassie. Truly. Anyone who would miss this is an idiot." Harrison's mother, Dorothy, joined us. She was elegant in navy lace, her silver hair swept up in a classic style. "Cassandra, dear, I want you to know something. Harrison's father and I are so proud to welcome you into our family. You are exactly the kind of woman we hoped our son would find. Strong, successful, kind. Today is about celebrating your love, not dwelling on the people who are too foolish to see what a gift you are." I hugged her, careful not to crush my dress. "Thank you. That means more than you know." The wedding ceremony was everything I had dreamed of, and more. The Grand Aurora Hotel ballroom had been transformed into an elegant wonderland of white roses, crystal chandeliers, and candlelight. My 150 guests filled the gilded chairs, all of them people who loved and supported Harrison and me. As I walked down the aisle on Aunt Patricia's arm, she having volunteered immediately when she heard my father would not be there, I saw Harrison waiting for me at the altar, with tears streaming down his face. The ceremony was beautiful. We wrote our own vows, and when I promised to love him through every triumph and every challenge, I meant it with my whole heart. When he promised to always be my partner and my biggest champion, I believed him. We kissed as the crowd erupted in applause, and for those perfect moments, nothing else mattered. The reception was spectacular. Dinner was a culinary masterpiece, each course paired with the perfect wine. The band was incredible, playing everything from classic ballads to contemporary hits. Harrison and I had our first dance to "The Way You Look Tonight," and I felt like I was floating. His father danced with me in place of mine, his eyes kind as he told me I was the daughter he never had. People gave speeches that made everyone laugh and cry. Julia recounted the story of how Harrison and I met. embellishing the details just enough to be entertaining. Harrison's best friend, another surgeon named Patrick, roasted him gently before saying that seeing Harrison fall in love with me had renewed his faith in soulmates. Aunt Patricia stood up unplanned and said that she had known me since I was born, and she had never seen me as happy as I was with Harrison. Her voice broke when she said that some people did not deserve to witness this joy, but their absence only made the love in this room more apparent. The cake was a 6-tier masterpiece of white fondant and sugar flowers. When Harrison and I cut it together, his hand steady over mine, cameras flashed and guests cheered. We fed each other small bites, laughing when frosting got on his nose. Every detail was perfect, every moment magical. But as the night wore on and the champagne flowed and the dancing continued, I kept noticing the empty seats, the 2 chairs at the family table that should have held my parents, the father-daughter dance that never happened, the mother-son dance where Harrison danced with his mother while I stood on the sidelines, smiling but aching. At one point, I stepped out onto the hotel balcony for air. The Miami night was warm and humid, the ocean breeze carrying the scent of salt and flowers. I leaned against the railing and let myself feel the sadness I had been pushing down all day. Harrison found me there. He wrapped his arms around me from behind and rested his chin on my shoulder. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. "I am married to you. I am more than okay." "You are also sad. Both things can be true." I turned in his arms to face him. I did not think it would hurt this much. I thought I had prepared myself. But standing up there saying my vows, all I could think was that my parents were choosing to miss this. They chose not to see this. How do you come back from that? Harrison cupped my face in his hands. You do not come back from it. You move forward. We build our own family, with our own traditions, and we surround ourselves with people who actually see us and value us. Your parents made their choice. Now you get to make yours. I choose you, I whispered. Good, because I choose you too, every day, for the rest of my life. We kissed on that balcony with the sounds of our wedding reception drifting out to us, and I felt something settle in my chest. This was my life now. This man, this marriage, these people who celebrated with us. My parents had excluded themselves from it, and that was their loss to bear. The night ended with sparklers and dancing and more champagne than should be legal. Harrison and I left in a shower of rose petals, headed to the hotel penthouse suite for our wedding night. As we drove away, I looked back at the glowing windows of the ballroom and felt a bittersweet mixture of joy and grief. The wedding was everything I wanted, everything I worked for, but the shadow of my parents' absence lingered over it all, a constant reminder that the people who should have loved me unconditionally had instead chosen conditional approval. I had refused to make myself smaller for their comfort, and they had punished me for it. I did not regret my choice, but I mourned the parents I thought I had, the parents I deserved but never really had. Harrison and I spent 2 weeks in Tuscany for our honeymoon, drinking wine and eating pasta, and pretending the rest of the world did not exist. We explored medieval towns and lounged by the pool at our villa, and made love in the afternoon sun. It was blissful, a bubble of happiness that I wanted to stay inside forever. But eventually, we had to come home. We returned to Miami at the end of October, tanned and relaxed and deeply in love. We moved into the house we had bought together, a beautiful modern home in Coral Gables with a pool and a garden. I returned to work, throwing myself back into pharmaceutical campaigns and clinical trial management. Harrison returned to his practice, his surgical schedule packed with patients who needed him. Life moved forward. I did not call my parents, and they did not call me. Trevor's wedding was now just 6 weeks away, scheduled for mid-December. I had received an invitation in the mail, forwarded to me from my old apartment. The invitation was cheap cardstock with generic fonts, nothing like the custom letterpress invitations Harrison and I had sent. I threw it in the trash without a second thought. November passed in a blur of work and settling into married life. Harrison and I hosted Thanksgiving at our new house, inviting his family and the friends who had become my chosen family. It was warm and chaotic and perfect, our dining room filled with laughter and the smell of roasted turkey. Then, the first week of December, my mother called. I almost did not answer when my mother's name appeared on my phone screen. It was a Tuesday evening, and Harrison and I were cooking dinner together, something we tried to do at least a few nights a week despite our demanding schedules. He was chopping vegetables for a stir-fry while I marinated chicken, and we were debating whether to watch a documentary or a comedy after dinner. Normal, domestic, peaceful. The phone rang 3 times before I picked it up, wiping my hands on a dish towel. Harrison glanced at me questioningly. I shook my head, uncertain what to expect. "Hello, Mother." "Cassandra." Her voice was strained, higher pitched than usual. "How are you?" "I am fine." "What do you need?" There was a pause, the sound of her breathing. Cannot a mother call her daughter just to check in? "You boycotted my wedding 3 months ago because I refused to diminish myself for Trevor's benefit. So, no, I do not think you are just checking in. What do you want?" Another pause, longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice had lost its false warmth. "We need to talk about Trevor's wedding. It is in 2 weeks, and there is a situation." "What kind of situation?" "The venue fell through. The event coordinator quit. The caterer canceled. Sienna is having a breakdown, and Trevor is completely overwhelmed. The wedding is falling apart." I turned off the stove burner under the chicken, giving my mother my full attention. "That sounds terrible, but I am not sure why you are calling me about it." "Because we need your help." The words came out rushed, almost desperate. "You planned such an elaborate wedding. You clearly know how to organize these things. We need you to help Trevor salvage his day." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "You want me to help plan Trevor's wedding? The wedding that was supposed to be more important than mine? The wedding I was supposed to diminish myself for? This is not about that. This is about family helping family in a crisis. No, Mother. This is about you calling me only when you need something from me. You have not spoken to me in 3 months. You missed my wedding. You sent no congratulations, no card, no acknowledgement that I got married. And now you want me to drop everything and fix Trevor's disaster? He is your brother. He stood by while you demanded I make my wedding smaller. He did not defend me. He did not even come to my wedding. Why exactly should I help him now?" My mother's voice turned cold, the warmth completely evaporating. "Because despite your selfishness, we are still your family. Blood is blood, Cassandra. You can be petty and vindictive, or you can be the bigger person." "The bigger person," I repeated slowly. "I have been the bigger person my entire life. I have watched you praise Trevor for doing the bare minimum, while ignoring my actual accomplishments. I have funded his failed businesses with loans he never repaid. I have covered his rent when he could not afford it. I have been the bigger person again and again. And what has it gotten me? Parents who refused to come to my wedding because they did not want their golden boy to feel overshadowed. That is not fair. It is completely fair. You know what is not fair? Calling me now and expecting me to save Trevor from the consequences of his own poor planning. He had months to organize this wedding. Sienna had months. Why is it falling apart now?" My mother hesitated, then said, "They spent the money." "What money?" "The money we gave them for the wedding. They spent it on other things. A new car for Sienna, a trip to Las Vegas, new furniture for their apartment. They kept saying they would handle the deposits later, and then it was too late. Vendors need to be paid in advance, and they have nothing left." I felt a familiar anger rising in my chest. "So you gave them money? They wasted it, and now you want me to fix it?" "We want you to help your brother have the wedding he deserves." "The wedding he deserves based on what? Based on being your favorite? based on having a Y chromosome? Trevor has never deserved anything he has gotten, Mother. He has coasted through life on your support and excuses, and now his lack of responsibility is catching up with him. This is not my problem. If you do not help, he will have to cancel the wedding, or postpone it indefinitely. Sienna's family will be humiliated. Your father and I will be humiliated. And there it was, the real reason for the call. This is not about Trevor's happiness. This is about your embarrassment. You have been bragging about his wedding, have you not? Telling everyone how perfect it was going to be. And now you are panicking because people will see that it is a disaster. Please, Cassandra, I am asking you as your mother to help. No. No? No. I will not help Trevor. I will not save his wedding. I will not make your embarrassment go away. You made your choices, and now you have to live with them, just like I had to get married without my parents there. You are heartless, my mother said, her voice shaking with fury. Cruel and heartless. I learned from the best, I replied, and hung up. Harrison had stopped chopping vegetables and was watching me with concern. What was that about? I told him everything, the words tumbling out in an angry rush. Trevor's wedding was falling apart. My parents wanted me to fix it. They wanted me to use my planning skills and probably my money to save the day for the son they had always valued more than me. The son they had asked me to diminish myself for. Harrison set down his knife and pulled me into a hug. What do you want to do? I want to let it burn, I said against his chest. I want to watch Trevor face the consequences of his irresponsibility for once in his life. I want my parents to feel the embarrassment they have earned. Is that terrible? It is human. They hurt you badly, and now they are asking for a favor. You do not owe them anything. But they will make me the villain. They will tell everyone that Trevor's wedding failed because his cruel sister refused to help. Let them. Anyone who matters knows the truth. I pulled back to look at him. You think I should say no? I think you should do whatever feels right to you. But I also think you have spent your whole life trying to earn approval from people who will never give it to you. Maybe it is time to stop trying. My mother called again the next day. Then my father called. Then Trevor called, his voice pleading and desperate. I let them all go to voicemail. I listened to the messages once, each one progressively more frantic, and then deleted them. My mother's message said I was destroying my brother's happiness out of spite. My father's message said I was not the daughter they raised. Trevor's message said he was sorry, that he should have stood up for me, that he needed me now more than ever. None of them acknowledged what they had done. None of them apologized for missing my wedding. At work, I threw myself into a new drug launch campaign. We were introducing a breakthrough medication for arrhythmia, and the project demanded all my focus. I spent long days in meetings with doctors and researchers, evenings reviewing clinical data and marketing strategies. It was exhausting and consuming, and it kept me from thinking too much about my family's increasingly desperate calls. Julia met me for lunch on Thursday, sliding into the booth across from me at our favorite Cuban restaurant. She had been my best friend since college, the sister I chose, and she knew me better than almost anyone. Your mom called me, she said without preamble, picking up a menu she did not need because we always ordered the same thing. Of course she did. She said you are refusing to help with Trevor's wedding and that the whole family is suffering because of your grudge. My grudge, I repeated. Did she mention that they boycotted my wedding because they wanted me to make it smaller so Trevor would not feel bad? She left that part out. She painted you as vindictive and jealous. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache building. What did you say? I told her I was at your wedding, which was absolutely beautiful, and I noticed she was not there. Then I told her it was pretty bold to ask for help from someone whose wedding you intentionally missed. She hung up on me. Despite everything, I smiled. Thank you. You do not need to thank me for stating facts. Cassie, you know you do not owe them anything, right? You do not owe them your time, your money, or your expertise. They made their choice. They chose Trevor over you, again. You get to choose yourself now. I know. I just keep waiting to feel guilty about it, and I do not. Does that make me a bad person? It makes you a person with healthy boundaries. There is a difference. The server came by, and we ordered our usual ropa vieja for me, lechon asado for Julia, and too many tostones to be reasonable. As we waited for the food, Julia told me about her latest dating disaster. A man who had seemed perfect until he revealed on the third date that he was technically still married, but separated. So it was fine. We laughed, and for a while, I forgot about my family drama. But that evening, my Aunt Patricia called. Unlike my parents, I answered immediately. Aunt Patricia, hi. Hello, darling. How are you enjoying married life? We chatted for a few minutes about Harrison and the house and work. Then her tone shifted, becoming more serious. Cassandra, I need to tell you something. Your mother has been calling everyone in the family, trying to drum up support to pressure you into helping Trevor. She is telling people that you are being cruel and unreasonable, that you are trying to ruin his wedding out of jealousy. Of course she is. Most people are not buying it. We were all at your wedding, remember? We saw how beautiful it was, and we noticed your parents were not there. Your cousin Jerome told your mother off yesterday when she called him. He said if she wanted someone to help Trevor, maybe she should have raised him to be responsible. I smiled despite myself. Good for Jerome. But you should know that your parents are planning something. I overheard your mother talking to your father yesterday. She said if you would not help willingly, they would find another way to make you cooperate. I do not know what that means, but it did not sound good. A chill ran down my spine. What could they possibly do? I am an adult. I am married. They have no leverage over me. I do not know, sweetheart, but be careful. Your mother sounded almost unhinged. This wedding has become an obsession for her. We talked for a few more minutes, then said goodbye. I sat on my couch, staring at my phone, wondering what my parents were planning. Harrison was working a late shift at the hospital, and the house felt too quiet, too empty. I decided to call Trevor. I did not want to help him, but I was curious what he would say if we actually talked, instead of him just leaving voicemails. He answered on the second ring. Cassie, thank God. Listen, I know things have been weird, but I really need you. The wedding is in 10 days and everything is falling apart. Sienna is crying constantly. Mom and Dad are freaking out. I do not know what to do. Did you really spend all the wedding money on other things? Silence. Then, how did you know about that? Mom told me. She said you and Sienna spent the money they gave you on a car and furniture and a trip. It was not like that. We were going to pay the vendors, but then Sienna's car died, and we needed a replacement. And the apartment was furnished with junk from college. We were going to get the money together, but time got away from us. Time got away from you, I repeated flatly. Trevor, you had months to plan this wedding. Months. How does time just get away from you? I know, okay? I messed up. But I need your help now. You are so good at this stuff. You could make some calls, pull some strings. You must know people in the industry. I do know people. I planned my own wedding very carefully, with a lot of time and attention. The wedding you did not come to. The wedding Mom and Dad boycotted because they wanted me to make it less grand than yours was supposed to be. I know, I should have said something. I should have stood up for you. I was a coward, and I am sorry. But please, Cassie, I am begging you. Help me. I felt something soften in my chest, just slightly. Trevor sounded genuinely desperate, and despite everything, he was still my brother. But then I remembered my wedding day. The empty chairs, the missing father-daughter dance, the way my mother had called my love for Harrison, and my desire for a beautiful wedding selfish and ostentatious. No, Trevor, I am not going to help you. This is a natural consequence of poor planning and irresponsibility. Maybe it will teach you something. Please, I will do anything. Name it. There is nothing you can offer me. You made your choice when you stayed silent while Mom and Dad attacked me. You made your choice when you did not come to my wedding. Now I am making mine. I hung up before he could respond. The weekend came, and with it, an unexpected visitor. I was in the garden, pruning roses and enjoying the December sunshine, when the doorbell rang. Harrison was at the hospital, teaching a surgical seminar, so I was alone. I wiped my hands on my jeans and went to answer the door. My father stood on the porch, looking older than I remembered. His hair had more gray in it, and there were new lines around his eyes. He wore slacks and a button-down shirt, his usual uniform for anything he considered important. Dad. Cassandra, may I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. He walked into my entryway, looking around at the home I had made with Harrison. The modern furniture, the art on the walls, the wedding photos displayed on the mantel. His eyes lingered on those photos, on my radiant smile and Harrison's loving gaze. Your mother does not know I am here, he said after a long moment. She thinks I am at the hardware store. What do you want, Dad? He turned to face me, and I saw something in his expression I had never seen before. Uncertainty. Maybe even shame. I came to apologize for not being at your wedding, for everything your mother and I said, for choosing Trevor's feelings over yours. I felt my throat tighten. I had wanted to hear these words for months, and now that he was saying them, I did not know how to respond. Why now? Because I saw the photos. Your Aunt Patricia showed me the wedding album. Cassandra, it was beautiful. You were beautiful. And I was not there. I was not there for one of the most important days of your life, because your mother convinced me it was the right thing to do. But it was not right. It was cruel and unfair, and I am sorry. Tears stung my eyes. You are sorry? Dad, you chose not to walk me down the aisle. You chose to let Mom call me selfish for wanting a beautiful wedding. You chose Trevor, like you always choose Trevor. And now, you are sorry? Yes. I know sorry does not fix it, but I need you to know that I regret it. Every day since your wedding, I have regretted it. Then why did you not call? Why did you not reach out before now? His face flushed. Pride. Shame. Your mother was so convinced we were right, and I let her convince me too. But watching Trevor and Sienna crash and burn with their wedding planning, seeing how irresponsible they have been, it made me realize something. You have never been irresponsible. You have never asked us for money or bail you out. You have built an incredible life for yourself, and we should have celebrated that. Instead, we punished you for it. I sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. Why are you really here, Dad? What do you want? He sat down across from me, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. I want to make things right. I want to have a relationship with my daughter again. But I also have to be honest with you. Your mother is planning something, and I think you need to know about it. My stomach clenched. What is she planning? She is going to show up at your work. She is going to make a scene, tell your bosses and colleagues that you are sabotaging your brother's wedding, that you are vindictive and cruel. She thinks if she embarrasses you publicly, you will help Trevor just to make it stop. Anger flooded through me, hot and sharp. She is going to try to sabotage my career because I would not save Trevor's wedding? She is desperate, Cassandra. She has told everyone we know about this elaborate wedding Trevor and Sienna were supposed to have. She has bragged about the venue, the food, the guest list. Now it is all falling apart, and she cannot stand the embarrassment. She is lashing out, trying to force your hand. I stood up, pacing the length of my living room. That is insane. She is insane. Does she really think threatening me will make me want to help? I do not think she is thinking rationally anymore. This wedding has become an obsession. She has tied her self-worth to Trevor's success, and his failure feels like her failure. She will do whatever it takes to fix it, including destroying my reputation. Yes. I looked at my father, really looked at him, and saw the weariness in his eyes. Did you try to stop her? I did. She would not listen. She said you had brought this on yourself, that you should have helped when we first asked. I told her she was wrong, that we had no right to expect your help after what we did. We had a terrible fight about it. That is when I decided to come here and warn you. What do you expect me to do with this information? He stood, moving toward the door. I do not know. But you deserved to know what was coming. And I wanted you to hear me say that I am sorry. I missed my daughter's wedding, and I will regret it for the rest of my life. If you never want to speak to me again, I will understand. But I had to try. He left before I could respond, the door clicking softly shut behind him. I stood in my living room, my mind racing. My mother was going to try to humiliate me at work. She was going to attempt to damage my career, my reputation, everything I had built, because I would not bail out my irresponsible brother. When Harrison came home that evening, I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening with each detail. She cannot actually do anything, he said finally. Your work knows your character. They know your value. Some crazy woman showing up and making accusations will not change that. But it could damage my reputation. Even if my bosses do not believe her, people talk. Rumors spread. I have worked so hard to build my credibility in this industry. Then we get ahead of it. You talk to your boss first. Explain the situation. You control the narrative instead of letting your mother control it. He was right. I called my boss, a woman named Veronica who had been my mentor for years, and requested a meeting first thing Monday morning. Then I spent the weekend preparing for whatever chaos my mother might bring. But Monday came and went with no sign of her. Tuesday, too. By Wednesday, I started to relax, thinking maybe my father had talked her out of it. I should have known better. On Thursday afternoon, I was in a meeting with our executive team, presenting the final marketing strategy for the new arrhythmia drug. It was a crucial meeting, the culmination of months of work. I was halfway through my presentation, standing at the front of the conference room with my slides displayed on the screen behind me, when the receptionist burst in. I am so sorry to interrupt, but there is a woman in the lobby causing a scene. She is demanding to see Cassandra and says she would not leave until someone gets her. Security is on their way, but she is getting louder. My stomach dropped. I looked at Veronica, who nodded. Go handle it. We can finish this later. I walked to the lobby with my heart pounding, knowing exactly who I would find there. My mother stood in the middle of the reception area, her face red and her voice raised. She was telling the receptionist, loud enough for everyone in the vicinity to hear, that her daughter was a vindictive, cruel woman who was destroying her family out of jealousy. Mom, stop. She whirled to face me, and her expression was almost triumphant. There you are. I need to speak with your supervisor. I need to tell them what kind of person you really are. You are sabotaging your brother's wedding. You are tearing this family apart because you cannot stand that he is getting married. People were staring. Colleagues I worked with every day were watching this unfold with wide eyes. I felt humiliation burning through me, but I kept my voice calm. Mom, you need to leave. This is my workplace. I will leave when someone listens to me, when someone understands what you are doing. Security arrived. 2 large men who looked uncomfortable with the situation. "Ma'am, we need you to leave the building." "I am her mother. I am trying to help my daughter see reason." "Mom, I am asking you one more time. Leave. Now." She looked at me, and for a moment, I saw something crumble in her face. Then the anger returned, harder than before. "You will regret this. You will regret choosing your pride over your family." Security escorted her out, her protests echoing through the lobby. I stood there, shaking, aware of all the eyes on me. Then Veronica appeared at my elbow. "My office. Now." I followed Veronica to her office, my legs feeling unsteady beneath me. She closed the door and gestured for me to sit. I sank into the chair across from her desk, waiting for the reprimand I was certain was coming. Instead, she poured 2 glasses of water and handed me one. "Are you okay?" I took a shaky breath. "I am so sorry. That was my mother. She is upset because I would not help plan my brother's wedding. She was trying to embarrass me into compliance." Veronica leaned back in her chair, studying me. "I remember when you got married in October. You were radiant for weeks after you came back from your honeymoon. You never mentioned your parents, and I wondered about that. They did not come to my wedding. They boycotted it because they wanted me to scale it back so I would not overshadow my brother's wedding, which is not even until December. I refused, so they refused to attend." Veronica's eyebrows rose. "That is extraordinary. And now they want you to help salvage his wedding? It is falling apart. He and his fiancée spent their wedding budget on other things, and now they have no venue, no caterer, nothing. My mother thinks I should fix it for them. I declined." "Good for you." I blinked. "What?" "Good for you," Veronica repeated. "Cassandra, I have watched you build an exceptional career here. You are one of the best pharmaceutical marketers I have ever worked with. You are strategic, creative, and tireless. I also know you have done all of it while dealing with a family that does not appreciate you. I have heard you on phone calls with your brother, lending him money. I have seen you rearrange your schedule to help your parents with various crises. And I have always wondered when you would learn to say no. I feel like I should apologize for what just happened. You should not. What happened was not your fault. Your mother created that scene, not you. Now here is what we are going to do. I am going to send an email to the executive team explaining that you have a family situation involving harassment, and that if anyone receives contact from your mother, they should direct her to security. I am also going to make it clear that this incident in no way reflects on your professionalism or your standing with this company. You are valued here, Cassandra. Do not let anyone make you forget that." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Thank you. Now go home for the day. Collect yourself. Come back tomorrow ready to finish that presentation, because it was excellent before we were interrupted." I drove home in a daze, my mind spinning. My mother had actually done it. She had shown up at my workplace and tried to humiliate me. And instead of it working the way she intended, my boss had supported me completely. I felt validated and furious in equal measure. Harrison was already home when I arrived, having left the hospital early when I texted him about what happened. He pulled me into his arms the moment I walked through the door, and I let myself cry against his chest, releasing the tension and anger and hurt I had been holding in. "She actually did it," I said between sobs. "She actually tried to ruin my career because I would not save Trevor's disaster of a wedding." "I know. Your father called me. He is mortified. He said he tried to stop her, but she would not listen." I pulled back. "Dad called you?" "About an hour ago. He wanted me to know he had no part in this. He said he is ashamed of your mother's behavior, and that if you never speak to either of them again, he will understand." I went to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of wine, my hands still shaking slightly. Harrison followed, leaning against the counter and watching me with concern. "What do you want to do?" he asked. I took a long sip of wine, feeling it warm my throat. "I want to destroy them. Cassandra, I am serious, Harrison. They have spent my entire life making me feel like I am never enough. They missed my wedding. They demanded I diminish myself. And now my mother tried to sabotage my career. I am done being the bigger person. I am done letting them treat me like I am disposable. What did you have in mind?" I smiled, and I could feel how sharp it was. "Trevor's wedding is in 6 days. They are panicking because everything is falling apart and they have no backup plan. What if I gave them one?" I am listening. "What if I offered to help? Not because I forgive them, but because I want them to think I have. I want them to believe I am coming to their rescue. And then, at the last possible moment, I pull the rug out." Harrison was quiet for a moment. "That is cold. They boycotted my wedding. My mother tried to ruin my career. Cold is what they have earned. I am not judging you. I am just making sure you have thought this through. Once you do this, there is no going back. Your relationship with your parents will be over. Harrison, it is already over. They ended it when they chose Trevor over me for the 1,000th time. I am just making it official." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, what do you need me to do?" I spent the evening crafting my plan. I would call my mother tomorrow, contrite and apologetic. I would say that her visit to my workplace had made me realize how much this wedding meant to her, and that I did not want to be the cause of family strife. I would offer to help, to use my connections and expertise to salvage what I could of Trevor's wedding. They would be so relieved, so grateful, that they would not question my sudden change of heart. And then, the night before the wedding, I would withdraw everything, cancel the vendors I had secured, revoke the arrangements I had made, leave them with nothing, exactly as they had left me standing at the altar without my parents. It was cruel. It was vindictive. It was exactly what they deserved. The next morning I called my mother. She answered on the first ring, her voice wary. "Cassandra. Mom, I want to apologize for yesterday. I should not have had you removed from my office. I was embarrassed, and I overreacted." Silence. Then cautiously, "You are apologizing to me?" "Yes. I have been thinking about what you said. About family. About being there for each other. I do not want to be the reason Trevor's wedding is ruined. I want to help." I could practically hear her relief through the phone. "Oh, Cassandra, thank you. Thank you so much. I knew you would come around. I knew deep down you were not as selfish as you were acting." I gritted my teeth. "What do you need?" Over the next 5 days, I became the wedding planner I had never wanted to be for Trevor. I called in favors from vendors I had worked with for my own wedding. I found a venue that had a cancellation, a smaller hotel ballroom that would work for Trevor and Sienna's 100-person guest list. I secured a caterer who owed me a favor and was willing to work on short notice. I arranged for flowers, a photographer, a DJ. I even found Sienna a decent dress at a boutique that had samples available for immediate purchase. My mother called me every day, gushing about how wonderful I was being, how she knew I would come through for my family. My father sent me a long email thanking me for being the bigger person. Trevor called me crying, saying he knew he did not deserve my help, but he was so grateful. Sienna sent me a gift basket with a card that said, "Best sister-in-law ever." I smiled and accepted their gratitude, and continued making arrangements. Harrison watched me work with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Are you sure about this?" he asked on Tuesday evening as I confirmed the cake order over the phone. "I am sure." "You are spending a lot of time and effort on something you are going to destroy." "It has to be believable. They have to think I have really committed to helping them. Otherwise, the payoff will not be as satisfying." He shook his head, but did not argue. He knew me well enough to understand that I needed this. I needed to take back the power my parents had spent a lifetime denying me. By Thursday, everything was in place. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. The venue was booked and paid for, the caterer had the menu finalized, the florist had confirmed the arrangements. Everything was perfect as it could be with less than a week of planning. My mother invited me to lunch on Thursday to thank me properly. We met at an expensive restaurant downtown, the kind of place she loved because it made her feel important. She hugged me when I arrived, holding on longer than usual. "I cannot tell you how much this means to us," she said as we sat down. "To me. I know I was harsh with you, but it was only because I was so worried about Trevor. You understand? Do not you?" "Of course, Mom. And your father and I have been talking. We think it is time we moved past all the unpleasantness from your wedding. We want to have a relationship with you and Harrison. We want to be a family again." I smiled and said all the right things, that I wanted that too, that family was important, that I was glad we could put everything behind us. She ate it up, relieved and happy, already planning future holidays where we would all be together. Over lunch, she showed me photos of the dress Sienna had chosen, a simple white gown that was pretty enough but unremarkable. She talked about Trevor's groomsmen and the ceremony readings they had selected. She described the reception decorations, elegant but modest, nothing like the elaborate affair I had planned for myself. "It will be a beautiful wedding," she said. "Simple and heartfelt, the way weddings should be." I did not miss the implication. My wedding had been too much, too showy, too ostentatious. Trevor's wedding was better because it was humble. Even in her gratitude, she could not resist the dig. "I am sure it will be lovely," I said evenly. After lunch, she hugged me again. "I am so proud of you for doing this, for being the bigger person. This is the daughter I raised." I drove home and threw up in my bathroom, my stomach twisting with rage and disgust. The daughter she raised, the daughter who was supposed to make herself small so her brother could feel big, the daughter who was supposed to sacrifice her own happiness for the family's comfort. That daughter was dead, and my mother did not even realize it yet. Friday morning, I made my final preparations. I called each vendor and canceled every service, claiming a family emergency required us to postpone the wedding indefinitely. Some were upset about the late cancellation, but I had paid deposits with my own credit card, so I simply forfeited the money. It was worth it for what was coming. The venue, the caterer, the florist, the photographer, the DJ. One by one, I dismantled everything I had built. By Friday afternoon, Trevor's wedding had nothing. No location, no food, no flowers, no music. Nothing except a bride and groom, and 100 confused guests who would show up tomorrow expecting a ceremony that would not happen. Harrison found me in our home office, staring at my phone. "It is done?" "It is done. How do you feel?" I thought about it. Powerful. For the first time in my life, I feel powerful. He kissed the top of my head. "They are going to lose their minds." Good. That evening, I drafted an email. It was short and to the point, and I scheduled it to send at 8 a.m. Saturday morning, 7 hours before the wedding was supposed to start. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. Saturday morning, Harrison and I slept in. We made breakfast together, leisurely and unhurried. We sat on our back patio drinking coffee and reading the paper, enjoying the mild December weather. At exactly 8 a.m., my scheduled email sent to my parents, Trevor and Sienna. The email read, "I regret to inform you that I have canceled all the arrangements I made for tomorrow's wedding. There is no venue, no catering, no flowers, no music, and no photography. I did this intentionally, as a consequence for the choices you made regarding my own wedding. You demanded I make my wedding smaller so as not to overshadow Trevor. You boycotted my ceremony when I refused. You showed no remorse and offered no apologies. Instead, when Trevor's poor planning caught up with him, you expected me to fix his problems. I wanted you to feel what I felt. I wanted you to experience disappointment and embarrassment and the absence of someone who should have been there for you. Consider this a lesson in consequences. Do not contact me again. We are no longer family. Cassandra. I turned my phone back on at 9 a.m. The notifications were immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of missed calls, furious voicemails, text messages that ranged from pleading to threatening. I read through them all with a strange detachment. My mother's voicemails were incoherent with rage. She screamed that I was evil, that I had destroyed my brother's life, that she would never forgive me. My father's messages were quieter, but just as angry, saying I had gone too far, that this was beyond acceptable, that I was no daughter of his. Trevor's messages were the most interesting. The first few were panicked, begging me to tell him this was a joke, that I had not really canceled everything. But as the morning progressed and the reality set in, his messages turned angry. He called me names I had never heard him use. He said I was jealous and petty, and that everyone had been right about me all along. In his final message, left at noon, he said simply, "I hope you are happy now. You got what you wanted. I have nothing." I listened to every message. I read every text, and I felt nothing but satisfaction. Julia called at 1 p.m., laughing so hard she could barely speak. "Cassie, please tell me the rumors are true. Please tell me you actually did it." "I did it. You are my hero. I am serious. What you did was epic. Legendary. They are going to tell stories about this revenge for years. They are probably telling stories about what a monster I am. Who cares? You stood up for yourself. You showed them that actions have consequences. That is not monstrous. That is justice." Aunt Patricia called shortly after, her voice grave. "Cassandra, I heard what happened. Your mother called me. Absolutely hysterical. She said you sabotaged Trevor's wedding." "I did." "Good." I smiled. "You think so?" "I think your parents have coddled Trevor his entire life while ignoring your achievements. I think they treated you abhorrently when you got married, and I think sometimes people need to learn lessons the hard way. This was their hard lesson. Mom said I am dead to her. Your mother says a lot of things when she is angry. Give her time. She will realize what she lost. But I knew Aunt Patricia was wrong. My mother would never realize what she lost, because she had never truly valued what she had. I was the responsible daughter, the one who took care of herself, the one who did not need them. And in their eyes, that made me less worthy of love than Trevor, who needed them constantly. The rest of Saturday passed quietly. Harrison and I went to the beach, walked along the shore hand in hand, and watched the sunset. Somewhere across the city, Trevor and Sienna were dealing with the aftermath of their non-wedding. Somewhere, my parents were facing the consequences of their choices. And I was free. The following week brought more fallout. My parents tried to salvage something, cobbling together a small ceremony at a local park with whatever they could arrange on zero notice. Only about 30 people showed up, mostly immediate family who felt obligated. The photos that surfaced on social media were awkward and rushed. Sienna in her boutique dress standing under a park gazebo, while a friend of Trevor's performed a ceremony they found online. It was exactly the kind of mediocre, thrown-together event that they had wanted me to have. The irony was not lost on me. My mother sent me one final email 2 weeks after the debacle. It was not an apology. Instead, it was a cold, formal message informing me that she and my father were removing me from their will and considering me no longer part of the family. They would not be contacting me again, and they expected the same courtesy from me. I replied with a single word: agreed. Harrison worried that I would regret my actions eventually, that the satisfaction would fade and leave only regret. But months passed, and the regret never came. Instead, I felt lighter, unburdened by the constant need to prove myself to people who would never see my worth. Trevor and Sienna eventually had a proper wedding in the spring, a small destination affair in Mexico that my parents paid for entirely. I saw photos on social media, smiled at how ordinary it all looked, and moved on with my life. My career flourished. The arrhythmia drug launch I had been working on became one of the most successful in our company's history, and I was promoted to vice president of marketing. Harrison and I bought a vacation home in the Keys. We traveled to Europe, to Asia, to South America. We built a life filled with people who loved and respected us. Aunt Patricia remained in contact, updating me occasionally on family news. Trevor and Sienna had a baby, a girl they named after Sienna's grandmother. My parents were apparently devoted grandparents, posting constant photos and updates. I felt nothing about it, no longing or regret. They had made their choice, and I had made mine. Years later, I ran into my father at a medical conference where Harrison was presenting. We saw each other across the hotel lobby, and for a moment, we just stared. He looked older, grayer, more tired. I wondered if I looked different too, if success and happiness had changed my face. He approached me slowly, hesitantly. "Cassandra." "Hello, Dad. You look well, happy." "I am." "Harrison is speaking today, I saw, about his new surgical technique. Groundbreaking work. He is brilliant." We stood in awkward silence. Then my father said, "I am sorry for everything, for not being there when you needed me, for choosing your mother's view over what was right, for not standing up for you." "Thank you for saying that. Does it change anything?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "No, I forgive you, Dad. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. You showed me who you were, and I believe you. I hope you and Mom are happy. I hope Trevor and his family are thriving, but my life is here now, with people who see me and value me. I do not have room for people who only want me when I am useful." He nodded, his eyes wet. "You were always the strong one. I am proud of you, even if I have no right to be. Goodbye, Dad. Goodbye, Cassandra." I watched him walk away and felt only peace. The girl who had wanted her father to walk her down the aisle was gone. In her place was a woman who had walked herself into a life she built, who had demanded the respect she deserved, who had refused to be diminished for someone else's comfort. My parents suffered exactly as they should have. My mother lost her credibility in their social circle, known forever as the woman whose daughter canceled her son's wedding out of spite. My father lost his relationship with his eldest child, the one who actually succeeded without his help. They became grandparents to Trevor's children, but never knew my children when Harrison and I eventually had them, missing out on relationships with extraordinary little people because of their own stubborn pride. Trevor's marriage struggled under the weight of his irresponsibility, with Sienna constantly frustrated by his inability to follow through on anything. The wedding disaster became a symbol of their relationship, a perfect example of how Trevor's charm could not mask his fundamental unreliability. They divorced when their daughter was 3, and Trevor moved back in with our parents, a 40-year-old man still dependent on the people who had enabled him his entire life. As for me, I built an empire. My pharmaceutical company became an industry leader, and I eventually started my own consulting firm helping other women in STEM fields break through corporate glass ceilings. Harrison and I raised 3 incredible children who knew their mother as strong and uncompromising, who never doubted their worth because they saw me refuse to doubt mine. Looking back on that long-ago decision to cancel Trevor's wedding, I never once regretted the path I chose. Sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing their game entirely, to take your worth off the negotiating table and demand that others rise to meet you where you stand. I learned that I was never going to receive the love I deserved from people who saw my strength as a threat rather than a gift. And that lesson freed me to build a life beyond their small expectations. The revenge I took was not just in the cancellation of a wedding, but in refusing to ever again make myself smaller for someone else's comfort, and that choice made all the difference.